Let's do it this Wednesday, because if it's Wednesday, it's NewsMaker Live.
I, Philip Joseph here.
I would like to be judged as being the Prime Minister, not being judged as being part of a government.
Came into government that we had a manifesto and a vision and mission that had been approved by my party, by the highest body.
We have to take pride on how we've handled
The illegal entry of persons coming in from Martinique, and Martinique remains an area of high risk for us
You
because
see all the nice things, all the appealing things, all the emotional things to touch people's heart because you want them to support you and follow you, you inspire them, you give them hope, and they follow you.
But what about the culture of people getting to office and not being effective in terms of
portfolio.
No, but caller, hold on.
Who handled his portfolio?
Hold on, caller, hold on. Let's do it this Wednesday, because if it's Wednesday, it's NewsMaker Live.
I, Philip Joseph here.
I would like to be judged as being the Prime Minister, not being judged as being part of a government.
Came into government that we had a manifesto and a vision and mission that had been approved by my party, by the highest body.
We have to take pride on how we've handled
the illegal entry of persons coming in from Martinique, and Martinique remains an area of high risk for us
You
because
see all the nice things, all the appealing things, all the emotional things to touch people's heart because you want them to support you and follow you, you inspire them, you give them hope, and they follow you.
But what about the culture of people getting to office and not being effective in terms of
Portfolio.
No, but caller, hold on.
Who handled his portfolio?
Hold on, caller, hold on. Let's do it this Wednesday, because if it's Wednesday, it's NewsMaker Live.
I, Philip Joseph here.
I would like to be judged as being the Prime Minister, not being judged as being part of a government.
Came into government that we had a manifesto and a vision and mission that had been approved by my party, by the highest body.
We have to take pride on how we've handled
the illegal entry of persons coming in from Martinique, and Martinique remains an area of high risk for us
You
because
see all the nice things, all the appealing things, all the emotional things to touch people's heart because you want them to support you and follow you, you inspire them, you give them hope, and they follow you.
But what about the culture of people getting to office and not being effective in terms of
Portfolio.
No, but caller, hold on.
Who handled his portfolio?
Hold on, caller, hold on. Let's do it this Wednesday, because if it's Wednesday, it's NewsMaker Live.
I, Philip Joseph here.
I would like to be judged as being the Prime Minister, not being judged as being part of a government.
Came into government that we had a manifesto and a vision and mission that had been approved by my party, by the highest body.
We have to take pride on how we've handled
the illegal entry of persons coming in from Martinique, and Martinique remains an area of high risk for us
You
because
see all the nice things, all the appealing things, all the emotional things to touch people's heart because you want them to support you and follow you, you inspire them, you give them hope, and they follow you.
But what about the culture of people getting to office and not being effective in terms of
Portfolio.
No, but caller, hold on.
Who handled his portfolio?
Hold on, caller, hold on. Let's do it this Wednesday, because if it's Wednesday, it's NewsMaker Live.
I, Philip Joseph here.
I would like to be judged as being the Prime Minister, not being judged as being part of a government.
Came into government that we had a manifesto and a vision and mission that had been approved by my party, by the highest body.
We have to take pride on how we've handled
the illegal entry of persons coming in from Martinique, and Martinique remains an area of high risk for us
You
because
see all the nice things, all the appealing things, all the emotional things to touch people's heart because you want them to support you and follow you, you inspire them, you give them hope, and if they follow you.
But what about the culture of people getting to office and not being effective in terms of
Portfolio.
No, but caller, hold on.
Who handled his portfolio?
Hold on, caller, hold on. Let's do it this Wednesday, because if it's Wednesday, it's NewsMaker Live.
I, Philip Joseph here,
I would like to be judged as being the Prime Minister, not being judged as being part of a government.
Came into government that we had a manifesto and a vision and mission that had been approved by my party, by the highest body of
We
my
have to
party.
take pride on how we've handled
The illegal entry of persons coming in from Martinique, and Martinique remains an area of high risk
It's
for
when you're
us
campaigning, you
because
see all the nice things, all the appealing things, all the emotional things to touch people's heart because you want them to support you and follow you, you inspire them, you give them hope, and if they follow you.
But what about the culture of people getting to office and not being effective in terms of
Portfolio.
No, but caller, hold on.
Who handled his portfolio?
Hold on, caller, hold on. Let's do it this Wednesday, because if it's Wednesday, it's NewsMaker Live.
I, Philip Joseph here,
I would like to be judged as being the Prime Minister, not being judged as being part of a government.
Came into government that we had a manifesto and a vision and mission that had been approved by my party, by the highest body of
We
my
have to
party.
take pride on how we've handled
the illegal entry of persons coming in from Martinique, and Martinique remains an area of high risk
It's
for
when you're
us
campaigning, you
because
see all the nice things, all the appealing things, all the emotional things to touch people's heart because you want them to support you and follow you, you inspire them, you give them hope, and if they follow you.
But what about the culture of people getting to office and not being effective in terms of
Portfolio.
No, but caller, hold on.
Who handled his portfolio?
Hold on, caller, hold on. Let's do it this Wednesday, because if it's Wednesday, it's NewsMaker Live.
I, Philip Joseph here,
I would like to be judged as being the Prime Minister, not being judged as being part of a government.
Came into government that we had a manifesto and a vision and mission that had been approved by my party, by the highest body of
We
my
have to
party.
take pride on how we've handled
the illegal entry of persons coming in from Martinique, and Martinique remains an area of high risk
It's
for
when you're
us
campaigning, you
because
see all the nice things, all the appealing things, all the emotional things to touch people's heart because you want them to support you and follow you, you inspire them, you give them hope, and if they follow you.
But what about the culture of people getting to office and not being effective in terms of
Portfolio.
No, but caller, hold on.
Who handled his portfolio?
Hold on, caller, hold on. Let's do it this Wednesday, because if it's Wednesday, it's NewsMaker Live.
I, Philip Joseph here,
I would like to be judged as being the Prime Minister, not being judged as being part of a government.
Came into government that we had a manifesto and a vision and mission that had been approved by my party, by the highest body of
We
my
have to
party.
take pride on how we've handled
the illegal entry of persons coming in from Martinique, and Martinique remains an area of high risk
It's
for
when you're
us
campaigning, you
because
see all the nice things, all the appealing things, all the emotional things to touch people's heart because you want them to support you and follow you, you inspire them, you give them hope, and if they follow you.
But what about the culture of people getting to office and not being effective in terms of
Portfolio.
No, but caller, hold on.
Who handled his portfolio?
Hold on, caller, hold on. Let's do it this Wednesday, because if it's Wednesday, it's NewsMaker Live.
I, Philip Joseph here,
I would like to be judged as being the Prime Minister, not being judged as being part of a government.
Came into government that we had a manifesto and a vision and mission that had been approved by my party, by the highest body.
We have to take pride on how we've handled
The illegal entry of persons coming in from Martinique, and Martinique remains an area of higher risk
Because
for
when you're
us
campaigning, you
because
see all the nice things, all the appealing things, all the emotional things to touch people's heart because you want them to support you and follow you, you inspire them, you give them hope, and they follow you.
But what about the culture of people getting to office and not being effective in terms of
Portfolio.
No, but caller, hold on.
Who handled his portfolio?
Hold on, caller, hold on. Let's do it this Wednesday, because if it's Wednesday, it's NewsMaker Live.
I, Philip Joseph here,
I would like to be judged as being the Prime Minister, not being judged as being part of a government.
Came into government that we had a manifesto and the vision and mission that had been approved by my party, by the highest body.
We have to take pride on how we've handled
the illegal entry of persons coming in from Martinique, and Martinique remains an area of higher risk
Because
for
when you're
us
campaigning, you
because
see all the nice things, all the appealing things, all the emotional things to touch people's heart because you want them to support you and follow you, you inspire them, you give them hope, and they follow you.
But what about the culture of people getting to office and not being effective in terms of
Portfolio.
No, but caller, hold on.
Who handled his portfolio?
Hold on, caller, hold on. Let's do it this Wednesday, because if it's Wednesday, it's NewsMaker Live.
I, Philip Joseph here,
I would like to be judged as being the Prime Minister, not being judged as being part of a government.
Came into government that we had a manifesto and the vision and mission that had been approved by my party, by the highest body.
We have to take pride on how we've handled
the illegal entry of persons coming in from Martinique, and Martinique remains an area of higher risk
Because
for
when you're
us
campaigning, you
because
see all the nice things, all the appealing things, all the emotional things to touch people's heart because you want them to support you and follow you, you inspire them, you give them hope, and they follow you.
But what about the culture of people getting to office and not being effective in terms of
Portfolio.
No, but caller, hold on.
Who handled his portfolio?
Hold on, caller, hold on. Let's do it this Wednesday, because if it's Wednesday, it's NewsMaker Live.
I, Philip Joseph here,
I would like to be judged as being the Prime Minister, not being judged as being part of a government.
Came into government that we had a manifesto and the vision and mission that had been approved by my party, by the highest body.
We have to take pride on how we've handled
the illegal entry of persons coming in from Martinique, and Martinique remains an area of higher risk.
I, Philip Joseph here,
I would like to be judged as being the Prime Minister, not being judged as being part of a government.
Came into government that we had a manifesto and the vision and mission that had been approved by my party, by the highest body.
We have to take pride on how we've handled
The illegal entry of persons coming in from Martinique, and Martinique remains an area of higher risk
Because
for
when you're
us
campaigning, you
because
see all the nice things, all the appealing things, all the emotional things to touch people's heart because you want them to support you and follow you, you inspire them, you give them hope, and they follow you.
But what about the culture of people getting to office and not being effective in terms of
Portfolio.
No, but caller, hold on.
Who handled his portfolio?
Hold on, caller, hold on. Let's do it this Wednesday, because if it's Wednesday, it's NewsMaker Live.
A very good evening to you. Welcome to another edition of NewsMaker Live right here on DBS Television and also the DBS Facebook page. My name is Timothy Poleon. I'm going to be until 10 o'clock this evening, at which time we'll be concluding with the clip that peaked. And I have two police officers who care, and they are on the broadcast this evening. No doubt we'll be focusing on some pertinent crime-related matters, and later you'll be getting the opportunity to call and pose your questions to them, and also to have an input on the broadcast. So say hello to you, watching again on DBS television as well as on Facebook. Over the last few months, no doubt, we've had an intensity as far as crime-related incidents are concerned, most of them gun-related, a source of immense concern to you, members of the St. Lucian public, as well as you in the diaspora. So we'll take the opportunity to focus on those incidents, and here's hoping that somehow we'll get a solution. We'll come up with recommendations as to the way forward. But first, you had this fatal police-involved shooting which occurred last evening. Gentlemen, I know you might not know the specifics with regard to this particular incident, but any concerns about people creating their impression, their perception, whenever they hear of a police-involved shooting? They already determine that police officers are culpable in such matters. Let's start with you, Sergeant Chauvin Matthew.
Right, good evening, St. Lucia. Thank you, team, for having me. Yeah, most times you find that when there is a shooting which involves a police officer, that everybody would want to have that police officer, he or she, or want that police officer to face the brunt of the law, other than when there are other instances of shootings, which I guess we live in a society where certain persons are anti-police, so anything that the police does, we become under the public's eye, and persons tend to believe that any shooting that involves a police officer, that the police is always wrong. Okay, a lot of persons don't have the details of the shooting, and they just, they make their assumptions. As I would always say, an investigation is supposed to normally takes place in all police shootings, and if a police officer is culpable for that shooting, or the shooting is not justified, that police officer, and we have seen it before, will be charged for a criminal offense.
And very often there's a division taking place between, for example, citizens who are not related to the victim, and who are very much concerned about crime and might associate that individual with certain criminal acts and so on.
Right.
And then you have the grieving relatives. So do you find yourself in a difficult situation as far as this is concerned? Because you have to understand it from the perspective of the grieving relatives as well.
Right. As far as anything else, we, the members of the RSLPF, would like to sympathize with the family members of the individual who lost his life in that incident. As anybody, like a normal citizen, the police officer or police officers who may have been involved in the shooting, they are also grieving, because it's very difficult. Like it hurts mentally to, when you shoot somebody, it weighs down on you as a police officer. You need psychiatric help. You need counseling as anything else, and as does the family members of that person who was shot. So we have to sympathize with both parties.
Host of Police Insights, Zachary Hippolyte, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence on NewsMaker Live. Your take? I mean, whenever a fatal police involved shooting occurs, and the reaction from some sections of the public.
Thank you, team, and for allowing me to be here tonight. And it's definitely one of concern. I mean, we all know what we went through when it comes to Operation Restore Confidence, and then we had the impacts report, and the rest was history. So it's definitely something that is a major concern to us as police officers. We're now living in an age of information technology, where individuals through social media platforms have the right of way, or believe they have the carte blanche right of way to say whatever they want. And sometimes you're not even sure who's speaking, because you have so many profiles where people conceal themselves. So it weighs on us as police officers, but there must be an investigation. I've heard many times before where people from different sectors of society have called for an independent investigation, and we have no problems with that. We've had various police commissioners who have made that statement, that if the powers that be were to pass certain laws that would allow such thing to happen in terms of an independent investigation, we have no issues with that. But police officers must always ensure that when you're going to use lethal force, that you are justified within your right, within your mind, and let the investigations take place.
I guess, Sergeant, people want transparency, and also they want those investigations to be conducted within a reasonable time frame, and that's not always the case, or maybe it's not always possible.
That's not always the case, and it's not always possible. The judicial system, we know the backlog of cases. Definitely, there must be an inquest.
Definitely, yeah.
Must have an inquest, and sometimes the judicial officer that's presiding over that inquest is definitely dealing with other matters. So we would like to see it better response time in terms of judicial cases, but
not just for the police, but for the citizens who
yes, we would definitely like to see that, but that is definitely something that is out of our hands. The police, we do our job, we investigate, we collect the evidence, we prefer a charge, and now when it's before the courts, it's for the courts to do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, it's because recently I remember I gave evidence in a homicide I investigated in 2011. That was Tropical Storm Thomas, was it? Yeah, it was Thomas, about a month after Thomas, and the matter just concluded last month.
Wow.
So that's almost like 14 years, 11 years, 11 years later. Yeah, so I know some of the witnesses have been is now deceased. You understand? So that's to show you how long, But I don't know. Everybody who comes in, they try to expedite the court process, but more and more you have more cases coming in, so there'll always be a backlog.
But Sergeant, also when you look at the mental impact of the officer, 10-15 years a case occurred, and then you have to now try and remember everything. You have to get your notes, but within that time you had like 100, 200, almost 1,000 cases investigating. So the lawyers, they have the purview of reading their notes, but most times we have to say everything.
We have to memorize it. Yeah. We don't go onto the stand with, unless if it's a traffic matter, you could go onto the stand with your pocketbooks, but you have to memorize these things.
Wow. Yes.
When those things happen, you're talking about those fatal police-involved shootings. How concerned are you, gentlemen, with regard to the image of the police force? Because if individuals do not like police officers already, and then during the course of the execution of your duties, then you have to use lethal force, somebody dies, etc., and people automatically will see you as the guilty party. How do you deal with this amidst all the challenges that you're experiencing, amidst the proliferation of illegal firearms and ammunition in our streets, so many gun crimes, and also complaints coming from a significant section of the society? Those same people are complaining. They say the police are not doing anything. Where's the police when this guy is robbing?
And when the police take action and something happens, it's like the police officers didn't have to arrest them, or they didn't have to shoot the guy or whatever. It's like
what about shooting in the leg? The guy should have been shot in the leg.
The thing about it is, when that firearm is in your hand and you depress the trigger, you don't depress the trigger and say, bullet, go to the leg. Sometimes you aim for the leg and probably the person's sheath, or you get a jerk of the weapon, it goes up. Right? At the same way, if somebody is pointing a firearm at you, team, and you have a firearm as well, and you could defend yourself, would you try to just hurt that person, and you know that person has a firearm, and if you hurt them, they could still retaliate? So you cannot tell where the ammunition is going to go.
And of course, team, we are concerned about the public's perception of the organization. But there is the thing, here's the reality, team. For example, I've been looking at comments on social media reference to the incident that occurred today. And you have people who support the police by their statements, and you have those who condemn the police. But there is a problem. For some reason, the negativity is what always gets either the airplay or the attention. So at the same time, you'll hear people saying people don't have confidence in the police, though there are so many comments showing that great job officers, etc., etc. But those comments normally don't get the light of day. But when you have one person saying, the police this, the police that, or they killed my relative just so, it wasn't justified. Even the media, that is what the media runs to. The media would go to the individual that is grieving, who has a problem with the police, and most times will turn a blind eye to the person who's saying, I believe the police did a great job.
Now I understand, yeah, I mean, Zachary, you're a PR guy. You have your own talk show, Police Insight, etc. Definitely the police need to do more in terms of its own PR.
Yes.
Tell its own story.
Yes.
Team,
yes, we need to do more.
I think everybody needs to do more. Everybody needs to do more because, as Zach said, you know, like the media houses, they always go behind the negative comments. Okay, the negativity of, you know, they would interview 5% saying something negative about the police. Why they don't interview another 5% saying something about what this individual was doing or what he may have done or what they saw? So when the news comes out and you have somebody 5% saying that the police officer just shot the guy for nothing, everybody will go with that story and it'll pin the police black.
I don't think that's correct. I think most reporters out there try to get as many points of view as possible and to include it in a report.
Right.
Probably what will resonate with the public is the negative
side. That's the psyche
of that particular.
But I think, Tim, there are persons out there, or should I say, are those persons afraid to come out and say exactly what happened in fear of redress from the family members of the victims?
Not always, because even today on Newspaper somebody called to say that they have been held to ransom in a particular community. I
read some of the comments.
Somebody actually called to say
it was a female who actually called to say that.
Okay, but in the final analysis, we can all agree that it's on the basis of the evidence. Will determine whether the police acted properly or not.
Most definitely.
How are you executing your duties considering so many illegal guns and ammunition are out there on the streets, in the hands of criminals, in the hands of civilians, in the hands of people? So, I mean, you're about to approach somebody. Are you going there anticipating that they are armed?
I think nowadays, Tim, that's... Well, other police officer, if you're going out, that's how you should go out, with the perception that that person is armed. If you're going to execute a warrant on somebody's premises, and you know what you're looking for instance, you're going to execute a warrant for a firearm, keep in mind that person 98% of the time will have that firearm. Okay? Keep in mind that person, if that person catches you off guard, that person will discharge a weapon at you. So you have to put measures in place when you're going out there. For instance, you need to protect you have your protective gear. We police officers, we need to continue doing our firearm training and how we respond, our observation skills, how observant we are when we are approaching those locations. You know, proper briefing before we leave, and also debriefing when we return. All right, coming together, you know, discussing, you know, where we're going, the targets and everything. Because right now, team, we're living in a lawless country.
And even when you're not on what we call active duty, even when you're home, when you're off, because when you're a police officer, the community also sees your residence as a police station. So they come and they knock on your door at any time, and they're expecting service. And sometimes when you're going to render some service, you might have to deal with somebody who's armed. And just going shopping, Tim, as a police officer, whilst most people would be doing that activity and taking it for granted, we police officers, the good officers, we still trying our best to have situational awareness all around us as to what we do. Going on the beach with my daughter is not like 10-15 years ago.
Yeah,
I'm still concerned.
Going to the supermarket.
We've with the invent of now WhatsApp and technology, we've seen where individuals have sent threats against the police. These people are not concerned whether you're on duty or off duty. So it's nothing easy. But we gotta do what we gotta do.
A simple situation. You, a police officer, you give another police colleague a ride on your car, and somebody would snap a photo and circulate it via social media. Sometimes it's a simple ride, and they would target your vehicle as a police vehicle. It would go out there, it would be circulating, hey, the cops moving in registration number, whatever. A ride you just give somebody, but 2 police officers come out of that vehicle and they would, you know.
What about senior police officers who don't seem to be too alert or aware of their surroundings or the situation that we're experiencing right now? You see sometimes police officers on their phone, and it happens with some security guards as well when they are on duty.
Tim, to be honest with you, we can only hope to have a level of situational awareness in terms of the levels of 100%. It's not possible. We're human. We have children. We have families. Sometimes while I am in town, I get a call from my daughter, I get a call from my girlfriend, and I'm concerned what's going on. And in that split moment, my situational awareness of anything that's danger around me would be gone. So we're human beings, we have families, and not every time we can do it. But as much as possible, we try our best to do it and also inform the public themselves. When you're going in town and you're on your phone, you have to be careful. You have to, your jewelry, don't show off in the city and stuff like that. Be careful where you're walking, know who you're walking with, inform your family or your relatives as to where you are. It is no longer a situation where I'm too big or I'm too much of an adult to tell somebody else where I'm going, who I'm supposed to meet, and what time I'm supposed to be back. So this is the world we live in right now. We have to be very careful.
On the heels of the attack on the police officer Nathan Timet, which resulted in his death, what happens in the case where, for example, let's say you're on national duty and you're shot by someone fatally? What happens to you in terms of insurance, etc.? Compensation for your family?
Yeah, I think the families do get compensated. You given a military funeral.
Military funeral. You have a group insurance.
Insurance, yeah.
That's supposed to be paid by the government. So yes.
But how much in terms of compensation?
Oh, I can't even remember.
I cannot remember, to be honest
with you. I just know there's a certain amount coming from my salary, and there's an amount that is being paid by
the government.
By the government, yes, but I can't remember offhand.
Okay. What say you to the fact that criminals have become a lot bolder right now? Is that a fair assessment?
Tim, what I could say, growing up, persons used to be afraid of the police. This is normal. It's
like that good?
Yeah,
good?
Yeah.
Is it a afraid or respect?
Yeah,
respect. Well, growing up, that's what you say.
Both.
Yeah, both. Yeah, it was a little bit of both. But right now, you have persons disrespect the police. You come to execute your duty as a police officer. You have to. Persons are arguing if you're in court for executing your duty.
What about the interference on the part of
interfering with what is happening? Members of the public. I don't know. It's like, let's say if police officers just put down their weapons and just allow everybody to do what they need to do, everybody will be crying foul. But the police persons you expect in team to be members of society that you could look up to, or young ones could look up to. Some of those persons are those disrespecting the police. The police get a lot of disrespect now. A lot of disrespect. A simple traffic check, team. Alright, when the police do a traffic check, by the time we get onto the road, it's already in circulation. Yes, true, it's okay. Everybody has WhatsApp. Okay? But we have assisted a lot of persons during those traffic checks. A lot of persons are not even aware that the license is expired. A lot of persons are not even aware that the insurance might expire. Bus drivers, they're so busy on the road on a daily basis, not even aware that the license is expired. So let's say, for instance, that bus driver gets into an accident. His insurance expired. He has not realized that. Nobody on the bus will get compensated because his bus wasn't insured. So, as I always tell people, whenever police are executing their duties, allow them to execute their duties. We're doing it for a reason. The same individual in the community that persons are crying, officer, he busting shots every day, officer, he taking our fruits. We come to execute a warrant at his home. You have so many negative things about who the F you think you're at, and coming in, and that's the same person that those individuals in the neighborhood are crying foul for.
But why do you think that? Why do you think that police officers are no longer respected or even feared?
To say carte blanche that we're no longer respected or feared, I would not really agree with that statement. I'm a police officer for 26 years. I believe I've earned my respect in my community and in my country. People respect me, I respect people. I believe there are lots of factors. We now live in a world where having a video with the most likes or reactions is something that people crave. So in 20 years ago, the police would do their job, and yeah, there will be a few onlookers. Now everybody wants to take out their cell phone because they want to make sure that they will be the first person to load it, to post that video of the police in action on their page. I believe that also contributes to people being emboldened, police doing their job, that they have to be there, and at the same time, with the numbers, cause other people to feel that they have that backing of other people. So therefore, we have numbers, we have people surrounding the police. Yeah, I might as well now get an unruly. I might as well challenge the police. This is the world we live in now, team. And we understand that, we recognize that. What we as police officers need to understand and do and is continue doing what we're supposed to do. These are distractions. Keep your mind on your objective. If you're there to effect an arrest, you do it. If you're there to serve a ticket, you do it. Let people speak. They have a right to speak. As long as they don't commit an offense, they have a right to speak.
But I think a lot of us as police officers, we have a lot of patience, Tim, because imagine you're trying to effect an arrest on somebody and civilians have cell phones right up in your face recording you. You are an ordinary person and somebody comes with a phone in your face. What would you do? I believe a lot of police officers, a lot of my colleagues, they deserve a token because we practice a lot of patience. A lot.
But there's in some cases where you cannot effect the arrest because the crowd might be too unruly.
Yeah, because you have to be concerned about your six. Okay, who's behind you?
Yeah.
Criminals or those who are mischievous would use that opportunity to assault you with a missile, with a weapon.
It has happened.
Sometimes you need to make that judgment call and retreat and say to yourself, I will get that offender another day. It happens. That doesn't mean that, and sometimes what people think, that the police is coward. Or another one that we've always heard, team, the guys out there have more guns than the police. Team, the guys out there don't have more guns than the police. The thing is that the criminals out there, they don't have a code, they don't have any form of procedure or law to follow. They are reckless and they'll do what they want. The police cannot do that.
Yeah.
We cannot go in Monday Door or in Grocery or anywhere and just take out an M16 or whatever that we have and say, hey, public, this is what we have, and go seek for people to hear. Then people will say, oh my goodness, the police have more guns than those guys. Nah, you've seen the movie Purge? I'll leave it there.
But talking about firearms, the caliber of fire, what kind of caliber of firearms that you're stumbling upon when you conduct those searches?
Yeah, so many. From the simple handgun, the Glocks. Right now we're stumbling upon prohibited weapons. And when I say prohibited weapons, I mean weapons that have been modified, weapons that have been adapted to fire multiple rounds with a dirty press of the trigger. Right, we have Glocks being with selectors, what you call selectors. You discharge, you squeeze it once and the entire magazine would come out. Now, incidents when those weapons are discharged, team, mass casualty, because you have multiple rounds coming out at one time. And as I said before, when this round leaves the firearm, you cannot control it. So it's a point of concern for us, and I believe the powers that be, they need to move quickly into making amendments to, as it relates to firearm and possession of firearm.
But why is it taking so long? Because it's not now we have this problem on our hands. It has been for a very long time now. Yeah. It's just that it has deteriorated to the extent that we have a record number of homicides on an annual basis, and most of them are gun related. So we are very much aware that the problem is there. Why, Sergeant Zachary Ippolit, you think we are still confronting the same issue and we are making the same recommendations in terms of penalties?
we have a system where people are elected. We have lawmakers, and that's their job. That's what they're supposed to do. I really cannot honestly say why. And you are correct.
Maybe we should protest.
Recommendations have been made, even to the point of, I remember, I think at the time of former Acting Commissioner Alexander, I remember he telling me that the recommendation policy for other forms of non-lethal weapons for the police have been, I think, sitting somewhere in the Aegis chambers for a long time. All we could do is make the recommendations. They would have to answer that question as to why it takes so long. I honestly don't know.
Maybe we should look at other measures, Tim. And like I said, probably, we know when something is wrong, persons go out and they protest. We don't have no protests or no march for as it relates to gun violence.
Why you think that's not happening?
Maybe it's not a concern for the citizens. Maybe it's not a hot button issue.
It's not a hot button issue.
Yeah.
But I hope that you guys will not be sent to some far away, will be some area where we will not see you anytime soon. Because we're addressing that particular issue we're talking about.
No, but it's their team, because we are police officers. I work in an investigative unit. Excuse me, and we deal with those matters. We take those matters before the court. Team, a firearm is a lethal bioweapon that's capable of discharging deadly wrongs. Team, okay, is unlike a knife or a cutlass. Sometimes you swing a cutlass, it miss. You discharge a round at somebody, it miss the person, it might ricochet.
Yeah.
And hit somebody else, hit an innocent bystander, right? That's the problem we have right now. Gun violence is the issue. Persons getting robbed, a firearm is involved. Aggravated burglaries, a firearm is involved. Our colleague dies just because he's assisting somebody who their rights were violated with the use of a firearm. He gets killed. I mean, something has to be done. Something has to be done.
We are calling for tougher gun laws. It's needed. It's not adequate. It's not adequate. I have seen police officers, team, and I'm being real here. I've seen police officers risk their lives, go on missions in the dark, in areas where they have to crawl just to try to get a firearm off the street. Sometimes they're successful. An individual charged, brought to the courts, and then when you hear the penalty that is handed down to that accused, you sometimes say to yourself, was it worth it? Was it really worth it? Like Sergeant Matthew said, a firearm takes lives. This is lives that cannot be ever brought back to earth again. And I think that the judiciary needs to do better. They can do better. We can do better. We all can do better to stem this tide of gun violence.
And not just the gun violence, crime on the whole thing, because there are other types of crime. And I guess as we move further into the show, because there are other types of crime, right? We have incidents of burglaries.
But if you go there, what kind of penalty you think would be imposed on somebody if they're caught with an illegal firearm? What's the penalty?
If you caught with an illegal firearm and you have a conviction already, I believe a penal sentence would be good. Because
but what obtains now? The judge or the magistrate has discretion to determine the...
Well, there are the sentencing guidelines where if you plead guilty, you get a 1/3 discount. Then there are categories A, B. If the firearm is in a public place, it falls under dangerous or category whatever. I cannot remember it off my head. If there's a wrong chambered in the firearm, it falls under this category and that category. Most times I believe that those categories are categories for the defendants. There's no categories for the prosecution or the victims. I believe that a lot of these laws need to be changed, because I personally believe if you caught with a firearm, team, I believe whatever fine you get, it should be paid forthwith, meaning you have 24 hours to pay it. So you stay there in custody, where your family member, wherever go, if they have the money, they're going to pay it for you. If not, you do yourself. Because right now it's either on the in the criminal code, it's 7 years or $15,000 or 7 years. So I believe if it's $15,000, you should be paid the $15 forthwith.
What happens?
Well, persons are normally given time to pay the penalty.
What kind of time are you talking about?
18 months.
A year and 6
That's a
months.
long time.
Yeah, 6 months. Yeah, if you don't pay it within the 6 months, you afterwards you face a penalty. You face prison term.
But are there instances where, for example, those kind of penalties will be imposed on individuals who have other cases pending relating to an illegal firearm?
Yeah, well, if you have a conviction, like I said earlier, the penalty would be, trust me, they will come down on you. Yeah, if you have a conviction for an incident that involves a firearm, like let's say you probably have a conviction for attempted murder, right? But I believe a president should be set in. Like it's like like too much is too much. Yeah, I remember in England, I was speaking to somebody from England. That person is into law enforcement. England had an issue with knives, stabbings. That individual told me right now you could get up to 4 years in prison in England for threatening somebody with a knife, just by telling somebody I will stab you. Because what is the issue, Tim? Knife violence. So you need to deal with it. You need to deal with it.
Well, I know there was a pronouncement made by a Prime Minister, am I correct, that he will look into, his cabinet will look into finally doing something about the gun law. So we await to hear what the cabinet has come up with.
How the guns are entering our borders? Because we do not manufacture firearms and ammunition.
Well, there's no secret that this is an island, it's a porous country.
It's an open port.
It's an open port. And we do have ports that sadly we're not able to man 24 hours. So there are resource limitations when it comes to enforcement. I'd like to say good night to the Marine Police. Those guys are so amazing, and I know that they wish they could do more. And also we've also had evidence of illegal firearms coming through
everywhere,
the barrels and stuff like that. So it's sad.
Tim, I feel it takes a holistic approach. Everybody needs to get involved. Customs.
Yeah.
Well, as Zach said, the Marine unit they're doing their best. But you see, you cannot tell where the firearms are coming from. We don't want to sit here and mention Martinique or St. Vincent or Jamaica or the United States or whatever. We don't. All we know that the firearms are getting here.
Yeah.
And they're getting here rapidly. Okay. Firearms and drugs go hand in hand. There's a drug trade, there will be a firearm. Look at Trinidad. Look at Colombia. Look at Mexico.
That's right.
They go hand in glove. Right? I'll go back to being a lawless country. When lawlessness is on the rise, Tim, you will find firearm offenses will rise the same way. Not dealing with the petty offenses.
Thank you.
Not putting better policies in place for the petty offenses. Like I'll not call burglary petty, but those offenses. Persons believe that they could go and break into somebody's home, and persons say, you don't have to send everybody to prison or whatever. But make it harder for the perpetrators. I don't want to call them criminal because not everybody that commits an offense you categorize them as a criminal. Make it harder for the perpetrators of those crimes.
What can citizens do? Because very often we blame the police, we blame the policy makers, the judiciary, etc. But citizens, they have a responsibility, they have a role. They can report, for example, that they have just seen an illegal firearm somewhere, ammunition somewhere. How can they do it without they being identified?
Okay. Well,
that's where we come
before we go to the not being identified part, because we do have a crime hotline. I need people to understand, Tim, that crime is everybody's business, and we've heard that before. The police, we are just being paid to give full attention to something that is the responsibility of everyone, and that is to preserve law and order, Everyone. So when you, as a citizen in your community, you see something and you don't report it because in your opinion, it's not bothering you. That has nothing to do with me. There's abuse going on there. That has nothing to do with me. This person is playing loud music to the detriment of another neighbor. It doesn't bother me. That has nothing to do with me. But eventually, it comes around back to you.
But these people are discouraged. Sometimes people are frustrated because call the police, they see no action. It's like a bust pipe down the road. You call Wasco, 2 weeks will elapse. You not see anyone coming from the water sewage company. Sorry, Wasco. But with regard to the police, people say that all the time. They make reports and the response.
Let me tell you, I am not putting my hand in fire for anybody, for the public, neither for the. But team, we as police officers, we work very, very, very hard. Teams, and I'll just want to say good night to my team members at the Grizzly CID team. And I said it the last time, and I'll continue saying it again on every program that I go. I work with a group of individuals that I would want to work with for the rest of my life, because these guys come out and give their all. They give their everything. Sometimes we work the entire day and we still come back late evening to do other stuff. So that there are not much of us. Team St. Lucia is 248 square miles, but sometimes you get a police station with only 3, 4, 5 persons on a shift. How do you police a community with 3 or 4 police officers when one has to work the desk, one has to drive, one has to run a report? How many left? One. The station has things that persons need to keep their eye on. I believe that more money should be pumped into crime fighting. More money. $100,000 is not enough. 2 million, 3 million, 4 million into crime fighting. The criminals right now are getting sophisticated, team. Gone are the days when persons wouldn't know what vehicle is a police vehicle. Everybody know what vehicles belong to the police, because St. Lucia is small. Everybody know what is happening. By the time you leave the police station, team, and you turn left into a community, the person you probably go into the home will probably know that the police is on the road. You come in.
When you call that station and make that report, Sergeant, I don't want people to think that this is what happens. Hello, yes, can I help you? Oh, you've got a burglary? Okay, guys, there's a burglary. And everybody's just cooling out, saying, all right, yeah, we'll get to it in about when we're ready. The investigative team, that little unit that he told you about, is already on a burglary scene.
Or sudden death.
Yeah. And the time when you make that call, they probably already had 4 or 5 calls before you. Because, team, something is always happening somewhere. The traffic department.
Don't even go there. Wait. Sometimes the 2 individuals on duty or 3 individuals on duty in the investigative unit are busy finishing a case file that a matter is coming up into, and we have 14 days to submit the file before the court date. So you hear team preparing your case file, and a burglary comes in, you leave it. Sometimes you spend 3 hours out. You have to come back. You know what that does, team? It elevates your blood pressure, stress, anxiety. You go into a depressing state.
So the issue is lack of resources, manpower.
That's one of the main issue.
But if what you tell me is true in terms of the 3 and 4 police officers, the problem is acute. It's very, very, very serious.
Yeah, because police have to be spread out. Oh, like team. Sometimes you come to work as an investigator and you have court. You spend the entire day at court, and you have to come back and work. When you come back, there are statements to be recorded. Sometimes you don't eat. You find a lot of police officers falling sick with gastro issues because we eat very late. Sometimes we don't eat at all. Sometimes we eat in paper bags, soft drink, a piece of cake, a burger, or something.
Well, that's not healthy.
Exactly.
But Sergeant Hippolyte, you're not representing the PWA here, but definitely the PWA is supposed to tackle issues of that nature.
Yes.
What are they doing about it?
Well, what can the PWA do? They can advocate. Advocacy. That's the most that they can do, team, under law. Advocate, seek other audience with the police commissioner, seek audience with the Minister of National Security and let them know what's going on with the organization. Our executive most times have to be trying their best to try to manage resources in the organization as much as they can. It's difficult. Look, recruitment is not consistent. Okay, and I'm even talking about before COVID. Recruitment was not consistent. It's all about priorities, Steve. And I don't know why to say that Sion Hippolyte is bashing any political entity or government. We work with whoever is in charge at the time. This is what a true police officer does. You put away any form of political biases and you do your work because you took an oath to do that job. But we want them to understand it's a dire situation. The birds, what do you call it? The birds have come to roost.
Yeah.
It's a dire situation, and we're just looking to see and hoping to see what's going to happen next couple of months.
So that right now is the chickens.
The chickens, but we might as well say because I think all the chickens are dead. Yeah. Too much gun violence, they're dead. Yeah.
But issues relating to missing person investigations and so on, is that adding to the problem in terms of not being able to deal with gun crimes? And when you have on so many occasions you have young people are missing, particularly girls.
The police has to do everything. Everything. A cow eats a neighbor's plant, the police have to deal with it. Team, we're stretched. Okay? Alright? Missing persons. When I report on missing persons made, team, it starts off. Social media is a great help. As we saw with the two last individuals, it's a great help. But when it comes to missing persons, everybody has to get on board again as any crime, because you don't know what has happened to that child. You don't know whether that child is being sexually abused or that child was killed or something. All right. So it's circulated. The police go out. We do neighborhood inquiries. We know where was the last time. But what I want to say, team, I need the parents to pay more attention to their kids, especially the teenagers.
Let me start on that one.
Especially the young ladies, team, because you would hear the stories. As soon as a child goes missing, team, what is the first thing you hear a person saying on social media?
She went to meet her boyfriend.
Yeah. Team, sometimes that is not the case. Sometimes it's an issue at home. Sometimes that child is being sexually abused by an uncle, a parent, right? Sometimes that child is not loved, and that child believes that if he or she runs away, right, he or she will get more help, right? Sometimes there are young boys who go missing, but it's not reported as much as the females. But I believe parents should pay more attention to when a child comes to you and tells that, "Mommy, uncle touched my vagina." Don't stand up and tell the child, "Oh, your uncle will never do that." Deal with the situation. Involve the police. Let the police know that my daughter reported whatever. Have the police bring the uncle in. You know, not because uncle is the sole breadwinner in the house that you believe that uncle could touch your daughter's private part whenever he feels like. This thing causes those kids to run away. Now, I'm not saying that some kids don't run away because they believe that their parents cannot speak to them. But it's a problem, it's a situation in the home. I know there are cases where children go missing. Okay, sometimes they go by another family member home without informing their parents. But you see, and it goes back to parents paying attention to what is happening with their young ladies. Let's take care of these young girls.
But Sergeant, another variable again, and it always come up. Social media, technology. Yeah. And when the sergeant says about paying attention, it has to be also brought into the fact that some parents don't even have the password
for the kid's phone,
for the device that they bought for their own children. It's no longer a situation where it is Mr. Joe coming over to your home. Mr. Joe doesn't need to come over to your home. Mr. Joe is talking to your child over WhatsApp. Mr. Joe is talking to your child via email, via Facebook. And we're asking, I'd like to say good night to the Community Relations Branch, both North and South, because they could tell you, team, that the amount of times they have to go to the schools, go to parents' homes to deal with these situations. And the parents either don't care, or they're very busy, or they are clueless. But we're asking them to pay a little more attention to what's going on in their children's social media life. It's very important thing.
Well, what about in cases where those parents are not equipped to maneuver, navigate those devices?
They need to learn to. It's a business. Parenting is a business. You have invested in a child, and you need to learn. There's certain things that I still don't know that my daughter is teaching me, because I want to find out. And the reason why I want to find out, because I want to know what she's up to. So it is your job as a parent. Yes, there are some of us with limitations. Okay, get another relative.
But
get them involved.
You mentioned in the phone. Sometimes those 11, 12, and 13-year-olds are already involved in sex thing. Gone are the days where parents used to check their young daughters' underwear. I remember growing up, the parents back then, they used to check it.
Yeah, that was.
Sometimes your daughter is involved in all kind of sexual thing at a young age. It's a crime, you know. Sexual intercourse with a minor. It's a crime. You need to check what is happening. You need to visit the schools. Mr. Brown, how did my daughter do at school this week? Oh, we've not seen your daughter at school for the week. You serious? But she leaves home every morning. Yeah, she leaves home every morning in the uniform and she never gets to the school. The teachers need to do more. Miss Lucy, I believe that there's an issue with your daughter. She's been sleeping in class. Sleeping in class could mean that she's probably up all night on her phone in her room whilst you're in your room.
That's right. Well said.
The other issue about those vehicle scams. You have people who should know better, and I think you have been on radio, television, social media speaking about this. I think you as well on your police insight program. Times. And yet still people are lured to alleys and so on, walking with exorbitant sums of money to purchase a vehicle.
Before they've seen it.
They just saw maybe on social media, or maybe they did not see, but there's just a contact number, and they fall prey, victim to this.
Tim, gone are the days where persons used to come and check a vehicle check the transmission, check the engine. Person just look at vehicles.
You walk with your mechanic.
Person just look at vehicles right now and say, "Whoa, it's good." Yeah, it's good. $14,000 for 2018 Jeep. Oh, let's go on to get it. Tim, when these guys put these things on social media, there are so many red flags. Yang Weng or whatever, you see a name like Yang Weng. Like, why you don't have a legitimate name? You go onto the page, no photos, only the photo of 4 photos of a motor vehicle. Start talking to the person. First thing, hey, can you send me the documents for your vehicle? Do your due diligence first. What is your name? Right, where you're from? What is your contact number? Can I get a copy of the insurance documents for that vehicle? You take it. You contact the financial institutions. Good day, Bank and Senusha. Does John Brown have a loan for a 2015 Mercedes-Benz or whatever the case may be? No, sir, he doesn't. Good day, First Caribbean. You do your due diligence first. Second, I would like to see this vehicle with my mechanic before I apply for the loan to see whether it's in a good condition. I would also like a copy of the documents to take to my financial institution. Or if you have the money with cash, you need to bring your mechanic to see it. You go, you see it to your mechanic. But do not go. Some of these people, they all go in with... And sometimes when I speak about these issues, I get upset. Because grown men are doing these things.
Yeah.
You leave the south of the island, you see a vehicle for sale for $13,000. You come out to the north of the island. You've not seen the vehicle. You've not driven it. The person who's purchasing the vehicle or who you buying the vehicle from is there waiting. Where is the vehicle?
No vehicle.
So, you give the person your $14,000 and then you want to run to the police?
Yeah.
You've not seen the vehicle. And the person tells you, go buy Falco or go buy KFC cul-de-sac or go buy the cinema and collect the key. Really? What's going through your mind? And then you feel you want to come to the police and come and tell the police, oh, I lost my $14,000 or whatever. Putting more pressure on us that we have pressure already.
And we have to work wonders.
We have to work wonders for you to get your $14,000. Right, but it was your fault. Persons need to do better.
Be responsible.
Be more responsible as it relates to those things. Now what is happening now? Those guys are getting prison. They come in at you with firearms because they know you coming in the money. It has worked once, it has worked twice, it has worked 3 times. Right. So they will continue doing it, Tim. They'll put engines on sale. A transmission is about $3,000, $4,000. You see a transmission for $1,000. You need the transmission, so you come in for $1,000. Meet me near the Darren Sammy Creek. I say, really? Why not at a garage? Why not somewhere?
At the police station.
At the police station.
At the station yard.
I mean, there are so many red flags that persons have to be cognizant of before they come and purchase those motor vehicles, before they come and purchase those parts.
How acute is the problem, Sergeant Hippolyte?
It's bad. It's very bad. And maybe what we can do, well, I know what I'm willing to do, because it's on social media that those poor people are being lured on and tricked. So we need to continuously have an awareness, putting out those messages, putting out those tips to let people know, hey, like the red flags that the sergeant mentioned, be wary of them. Especially when it comes to the point of meeting the potential seller. I always say, just tell them, let's meet at the police station yard. What's wrong with that?
Or the fire service.
Or the fire service station yard. What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
And I promise you, anytime you mention a venue that has to do with any form of law enforcement, you will know one time if you're dealing with somebody who's genuine or not. Okay? And we, the police, we have our share to do also in also combating that particular situation on social media. And I know we will get a hang on it. But in the meantime, people need to be responsible.
We have lots of comments in the chat room. I'll be going through them in just a moment. And of course, we'll be taking your calls in just a bit. My guests, Sergeants Siobhan Matthew and Zachary Hippolyte. You are watching NewsMaker Live on DBS Television. We are also on the DBS Facebook page. Please stay with us.
Lucelec will terminate any account on its system that remains disconnected for 90 consecutive days. In such cases, the meter and service line will be withdrawn. Similarly, Lucelec will repossess any meter or service line on vacant or abandoned properties. These measures are to ensure safety and to reduce electricity theft. To reinstate the electricity service, the final bill at the time of the meter withdrawal must be paid, and an application for a new connection made to Lucelec. This means the property must be re-inspected and recertified by the Electrical Department of the Ministry of Infrastructure before service can be provided. Call Lucelec for additional information.
Get the latest 2022 fashions from UC now. Take advantage of this massive up to 60% off sale now. Jeans and casual tops up to 60% off now. Short pants, work skirts, work shirts, work pants, all dresses up to 60% off now. Full selection of fabulous bags up to 60% off now. Stay elegant and fashionable, St. Lucia. Take advantage of this massive 60% off sale now.
Nothing says how special your loved one is to you like a DBS love note. Wish someone a happy birthday. Let mom or dad know you care. Express admiration to your loved one or congratulate someone on a special occasion. Say it all with a DBS love note, aired 3 times a day, 5:55 a.m., 1:30 p.m., and 10 p.m. However you choose to show your love to that special someone, do it with a DBS love note. Call 453-2705 for more information.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. You are watching NewsMaker Live on DBS Television and also on the DBS Facebook page. My guests, Sergeant Siobhan Matthew and also Sergeant Zachary Hippolyte. In the chat room, somebody says there, very good point, officer, on the fines and imprisonment issue. Somebody says also anyone found with an illegal firearm should go to prison. No less than 5 years, no questions asked. I said what I said. The other person says a firearm is deemed safe until a human being uses that firearm for criminal or illegal intent, and I personally suggest that draconian measures be implemented. I guess the reason why it is being stalled is the idea of after 5 years in office, the political parties have to face the so-called hotspot communities to vote for them. I see no other reason to implement stiffer measures. Before we take your calls, we have coming up, and I know you're responsible for the north, Grizzly area. You have the Friday night street party coming up, and that is on the 29th. Much anticipated. How will that affect your work?
Tim, there's not even Grocery Street party, and we're so busy, so far less when this thing comes back on. I know for a fact that on the first night it would be all hell break loose. I believe that this event should be policed. I remember speaking to Zach before the show. I don't think it's being treated as a masquerade event. It is a masquerade event, and with a masquerade event you need to have proper security and policing, because we've not had Grocery Street party for 2 years. It's coming back. It's like everybody, you probably believe it's the new street and a new building, like when a new bar opens, so everybody will be going to that grocery area. I just pray that on that evening everything is okay, nothing as really so violence happens. But trust me, there'll be a lot of persons, and I believe a lot of persons will not come.
A lot will come.
A lot will not come because of the state of the gun violence, the crime situation in our country.
We'll put the telephone number on screen. It's already there. Thank you so much, Mr. Producer. So you can call right now with your comments and your questions for my guests. Once again, Sergeant Zachary Hippolyte and Sergeant Siobhan Matthew. They are my guests on this evening's NewsMaker Live on DBS television as well as on the DBS Facebook page. Let me see if I could go through some of your comments. Somebody says crime is on high because there are no police officers at present that criminals are afraid of. I don't know if you gentlemen want to respond to that. Is there any, because in days of yore, before you say one police officer, two police officers, boy, it's serial. Okay. Hold that point, we have a call. Good evening to you, NewsMaker Live, you're on the air.
Yes, sir.
Good evening to you, caller.
Good evening, Tim. Yes.
Good evening to you.
Tim, I believe you, the officers, you all are doing a great job. I believe you all, I think 90% of the police do what's good. But what I'm saying is, we need to stop the gun crime. We need to find the suppliers who finance the shipment of the guns to the nation. Because some of these guys who carry these firearms, they don't have the means to bring them in. There are people here who finance it or overseas. You have to get to the bottom of it. Get who is financing the guns that are coming here and charge them and send them to prison. Then hopefully I think this gun massacre we have in our country will stop.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay. What's the use, Sergeant?
Yeah, it's true. It's a lot of the persons we get with the weapons. Some of them buy it, so there's a market. There must be a market. If so many persons are purchasing it, there must be a market.
We have another call. Good evening to you, NewsMaker Live. You're on the air.
Tim.
Yeah. Good evening to you, Rick.
I don't normally call.
By the way, let me ask you. When are you? Let me put you on the spot. Are you on tomorrow?
I knew you would do that. I'm having discussions.
You having what? Okay, you're having discussions with the main man. Okay. All right, go ahead, Rick.
Tim, I want to congratulate you. This is one of the best shows I have watched in a very, very long time. And of course, you have fantastic guests. Zach is something else. I've suggested to Zach so many times to get out of the police force and do something else.
Thank you,
but I'm glad, Zach. Do you know when you put the camera on, Zach, man?
Sorry about that, Tim.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm directing your show.
Junior is all over the place, producing this, producing that. He's taking care of all the cameras. But anyway,
that's correct.
Yeah, but go ahead.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
These guys are so articulate, both guys, and of course Zach is the usual diplomat. Very much diplomat, but not so diplomatic that we don't know where he's going.
Yes.
And his sergeant, I don't know him, but what an articulate, two very articulate guys. And I hope that's number one.
I mean, you don't know Sergeant Siobhan Matthew, the cop who cares.
I printed my book at his place at the staff
office. At the staff, okay.
Yeah.
It's my fault. All right. but better late than never.
Yeah.
That number one you put to rest tonight, Tim, that the police are a bunch of dummies who can't speak English, etc. These guys are careful. They're thinking of protocol. They're thinking what they can say that is clear about whatever government there is, but at the same time they don't want to step on toes. So they're leaving it to the general public to read between the lines of what's going on there. The one thing, I want to ask a couple of questions though. Zach, I have figured out that there are 200 citizens more or less to every cop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Am I close to that?
Yeah, you're on point, Drake.
Now, how can any police, like I heard somebody advising there about what to do about certain things to do. My view is you can do next to nothing unless you have the extra manpower.
That's
To
right.
go with the extra, you can't, you are undermanned, terribly undermanned when you have to take care of 200 citizens. One policeman has to take care of 200 citizens. That is really ridiculous. And it has been that way for a very long time.
Very long time.
I was very happy to hear the sergeant not playing games and saying we need 2 cars, that we need 5 million or so invested. Obviously, we are not investing in protection of life and property. The protection of life and property in this country is not sexy until somebody's dead. Okay, but that should be your number one priority of any government, the protection of life and property. Also, I would suggest that the police put pressure on the appropriate ministry for a higher caliber of police officer training, because forensics and so on, nowadays policemen don't go looking for killers. Police officers really protect the crime scene. That's about all they do. And even they have to have special training to properly correct the crime scene. I noticed though that both of you have stayed clear from the DPP's office. The DPP's office is a disgrace. Everybody knows that. Nobody wants to say it. And if the government really cares, the excuse that we can't interfere in DPP's work, that is nonsensical. You can't go and tell the DPP who to prosecute. But you should be interested in how come we have 300 cases last month and the public is hearing nothing from you. So I could go on, but it's your show too. But those two gentlemen, I think they have done the police force a great service tonight, and I hope the people of St. Lucia by listening to those two guys, understand the problems they face, and not every policeman is a dummy. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Let's continue with your calls and your discussions in the chat room. Somebody says there, guns equal drugs. Why not go after the drug lords? Want to answer this? Guns equal drugs. Why not go after the drug lords?
I mentioned that. That's why I said that. Team, drug and gun go hand in glove.
That's right.
I believe amendment needs to be made to all those.
We have a call. Good evening to you, NewsMaker Live. You're on the air. Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening to you, caller.
Yes, thank you.
I can't hear you too clearly. Maybe you have to speak into your phone and.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
I suspect there might be some phone trouble. Can you hear me now?
That's a little better. That's great.
Yes. I wanted to give a shout out to the robberies team at the CID in town. These guys were extremely helpful with regards to me dealing with a robbery earlier in the week. I mean, they were very busy, and so I had to wait quite a while. But they really, especially Corporal Joseph, really, really good with his customer service and his sergeant and the rest of the team. They came out with me and they really assisted me trying to recover some stuff. And I must give great kudos to them. And we all chide the police all the time, you know. And let me tell you, right now, you know, sometimes when you're on the other side, although, I mean, being a son of a policeman, I've always really tipped toward the side of the police. When you become the victim, you're not saying that you want mercy for these guys, you know. Either you yourself want to take them out, or you say you want the police to take them out, you know. And that may be a little harsh, but you know, sometimes when the shoe is on the other foot, you really see. And you know, I spent almost an entire day at the police station. Like I told the guys, I worked an entire police shift, you know, and I saw it. You know, they're very, very inundated with calls coming in and whatnot. I mean, I already know what the life of a policeman is. I'm a son of an ex-policeman, so I just want to give them a little kudos as well. I mean, and you know, they're doing a good job, and I mean, we on the outside seeing that they're not getting through, but it's tasking. So kudos to them.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. The team you mentioned, the robbery team from Cashways, you know, they're a bunch of good guys. Corporal Joseph, Sergeant Law, you know, they're a bunch of good guys. They're trying their best, and you know, Cashways has had a lot of robberies in the city, and trust me, these guys work there.
Good evening, NewsMaker Live, you're on the air.
Good evening, Tim.
Hi, good evening to you, sir.
Well, it's nice to see two non-gazetted officers on your show. Not very often you would get non-gazetted officers on the show.
We can consider ourselves fortunate tonight.
They were not even permitted to go on these shows, and it's quite good. But one of the things I want to tell them is that they're doing a good job, but they must know the history of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force.
By the way, that's former Commissioner.
That what they're talking about now has been said 74 years ago, since after the 1948 fire. This police force has had more commission of inquiries into its operation, what is required, what is not required. And Tim, do you know, up to today, what they told you in 1948 is still relevant?
Yes.
Training, the caliber of men, what is required, what's not required. And yet, nothing, I can tell you that, and you know that too, what really is happening. So I'm telling these young officers, they must get these reports. They must read them. You have people like, I can even say, you had things like Pusinelli report, you had the Graves report, you had the Halewood report, you had the Carl Hudson Phillips report, and then you brought a group of English officers one time who came in to do a review of the entire force and make recommendations, even bringing in some retired gazetted officers we have. Where are these reports? Because, Tim, it's the same thing in all the reports. You can read it, but what is happening? These reports come in, and you hear nothing about them, and no action is taken. And Tim, I can tell you, if you go back 74 years back, you will find that is the same thing. You'll say, but oh, that's ancient. That's not nothing like that is happening now. But I can tell you, it is still happening. So I would advise them, get these reports, read them. They will get some good information.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Former Police Commissioner Calvert Phillips. Somebody says non-gazetted officers, but clearly performing at the level of gazetted officers. Good evening. You're on the air, NewsMaker Live.
Hi, good night, team.
Good night to you, sir.
Sergeant Police and Sergeant Mashi, good night.
Yeah, good night, sir.
Yes, we have a serious crime problem in this country, especially in the Castries Basin, and a lot of the times there's a lot going on in the Castries Basin, and most of this is being done in the night. We see a ton of police officers out in the day, and we hardly ever see any of those officers out in the night. A lot has been going on in the night, and if you live in Castries, you will know, you will hear, you will see everything that is going on in Castries. So I believe there needs to be some beefed up security in terms of police presence in the Castries Basin. You know, because like I said, if you live in Castries, you would hear a lot, you would see a lot, and you would know a lot. So we know that the police is under some serious pressure in terms of manpower, resources. So I would like to encourage them to do what they're doing, and thank them for all that they're doing, because after all, they're on the front lines, and people don't normally see or appreciate the good that the officers do. So shout out to the entire of the Royal Sunshine Police Force, and especially Grizzly Police Station.
Thank you,
sir. Good night.
Thank you, sir. Such as this owner of, I think, a business establishment on Marion Street.
Yes.
Place has been burgled on several occasions. That's on Marion Street, and probably, on evenings you hardly see police officers patrolling that part of the capital.
Yeah, it's something that we are aware of what the citizen is saying in terms of the level of presence of police. We could do better. We would like to do better. We shall do better.
We have a call. Good evening to you, NewsMaker Live, you on the air?
Yeah, today, good night, how are you?
Good evening to you, sir. How are you? I'm okay.
Yeah, Siobhan and Zach, how are you?
Good night, sir. We tried our best.
Excellent, James. Sounds like it.
Yeah. Zach, I guess you know who this is, but do not identify me.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Zach, how many homicides we've had for this year so far, if you can recall?
17.
I think we had 17, eh?
Am I correct? 17?
Yeah, 17.
Well, if you split it, the police should use the amount. 18. Yeah. So much, yeah.
Okay, it's neither here nor there.
Yes.
But that the biggest problem the force faces right now, or over the past 50 years, is stability.
Stability?
Stability.
Okay.
Do you know that we've had 17 commissioners of police between 1970 to 1918 to 2018? 17 commissioners of police in those years. So how you expect the force to be stable when at least every 2.5 years to 3 years they change commissioners? You see where I'm coming from?
Okay, a colleague just sent me 19 homicides.
19.
Yeah, 19.
Okay.
19. Thank you very much, Tim. All right. Pretty soon we'll be having a new commissioner because Mr. Dizzy's stint will be coming to an end this year.
Yes, that's the expectation.
So there we go again. The higher echelons of the police force, most of them are 54. They're due for retirement at any time. Their successors are yet to be seen. Zachary and Siobhan, I believe that, in my opinion, that you all should have been way up there now. Because you're two of the best spoken police officers that I know, and I know you all personally. Right? And I believe that a team of young, outstanding graduates of the secondary schools in St. Lucia between the ages of 24 to 30 should be sent to Scotland Yard, to FBI, to RCMP in Canada.
Should be groomed for the job.
Yeah.
Team, I'm not borrowing that from Mr. Herman Gil Francis. He and I joined force the same year. And we share a lot of ideas. But at least 4 police officers should be sent out there. I've heard of Mashama. She's very good. I know that because I know her. But a team of young police officers, at least every 6 years, there should be a rotation of young police officers being sent out there. Scotland Yard, Hendon, Bramsville, ICTAP in Canada, RCMP in Canada, the FBI, the Scotland Yard, and everybody. So there will be a succession plan in place to succeed the outgoing commissioners and the upper echelons of the police force. Right? And manpower, human resource. I've heard that the police force, right, with new vehicles, should be able to address the crime situation. Yes, these are vehicles. Team 28 years ago, 94, 95, Zachary Hippolyte worked with me.
Yes.
I was sergeant in charge of 40 police officers at Rosalie Police Station in Otim. 40 police officers at that station in Rosalie.
That's a significant number, eh?
To date, the population of Rosalie has tripled.
Yes, it has.
I live in the constituency team. right? And the guys are working tooth and nail with just about a third of what was there 28 years ago till. How do you expect them to solve all the matters when one policeman sometimes have 4 or 5 homicides to investigate? And I asked the question as to how many homicides we've had for the year, and you just confirmed that it's 19. And I'm hearing politicians saying that crime has been abated through the resources that is given to the police. How can that be when last month, March, we had 8, I stand corrected on that, but I believe we had 8 non-fatal police shootings in Grosile, Soufre, Sarot, Badini, Grass Street, Moshi, Strozel, and Viewfort.
Yes.
So is only fatalities that are crime now? These shootings, they don't amount to crime? So what's going on? Where have crime been abated? But guys, keep on doing what you all are doing. You all are very 2 bright young men, and there are others like you. And I wish to take this opportunity to congratulate Elvis Thomas, Polymore, and those guys, right, for the promotions. And Commissioner Daisy, I know you have a tough task ahead of you, but keep on doing what you're doing. And guys, good night.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
What he said about the overseas training, this is something that has crossed my mind many times, and it will help us as young police officers as we move further up in general. I believe it will help, like going overseas. I remember the officers before, it used to be done a lot.
Mm-hmm.
All right, team. So for instance, if you see somebody like me, I'm good in investigations. Send me overseas to an investigative unit that we could learn more types of investigations.
That's a nice skill.
Good evening, NewsMaker Live, you're on the air.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening, Tigana.
Yeah, good evening to you, Tim, and good evening to your guests. Very good program.
Good evening.
I want to ask the distinguished gentleman, what are the genesis, or what is the esprit de corps between them and the correctional institution? Because it starts on the outside and persons have to deal with it within the context of the prison. What is the relationship between the two, and what can be done to help, in the whole fight against crime? And I agree with the last caller. I do believe the time has come for us to seek out the outside assistance, and I'm also translating what he said to be used in the correctional facility for dealing with crime and beating the problems we have.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, Tim, I really believe that there should be more collaboration between the prisons and because a lot of incidents which are occurring, it comes from the calls and certain things that have been made from the prison. I believe there should be more information sharing between the two bodies. The same way there should be more social activities that involves police officers and prison officers, just to build up the esprit de corps. Okay, I believe there should be cross-training, they call it, Zach?
Yes, we could learn from each other.
We could learn from each other. I remember once I was a participant in a course at Bodley where they were taught how to investigate. I believe more of these things would work, because some of the crimes start from there are persons from the prisons calling to set up certain crimes out there. So I believe there should be more information sharing, more collaboration.
Okay, we lost that call. But
Yeah.
We have a call? Mr. Producer, do we have a call?
No, it's cut off.
All right. Somebody's also saying, what about online training?
Yeah, presently there are online training going on. Yes, I believe there should be more. And as I said that, as for that caller, I will call the outside training, not just for us, the police too, but even for the prison officers, as they mentioned. I believe that we need to go overseas, go to other islands, go to other countries to see how it's done. Sometimes we would search a vehicle here, and there are areas in the vehicle that in other countries that they hide items, they hide firearms that we do not even know about here in St. Lucia.
That's right.
So if we're exposed to more, even the shipping in of the firearms, I'm certainly sure there are ways firearms get here that we would not even know.
We have a call. Good evening, NewsMaker Live, you're on the air.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Hi, good evening. Turn on your device, your TV, whether you listen on the computer.
I'm really enjoying your program.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just saying I enjoy your program very much.
Yeah.
And I believe the problem we have, you can have every single person in St. Lucia to become a policeman, and the same problem will still happen. The problem is right now these criminals have their own private lawyer. So these lawyers, you have these lawyers that are not loyal to the country. They're only there for the benefit. Crime has a profit in it, and the profit is these lawyers are getting rich. They are getting to be millionaires. And even when these drug men and criminals do commit their crimes, they get money borrowed from the same lawyer. So I think that the problem is the lawyers have to be interested and play a better part in the development of our country. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Is their duty to defend, eh?
Yeah.
It's their duty to defend.
Yeah, I mean, lawyers have their job to do, but I believe there are times.
It's our duty to prosecute.
Even in the, remember that the sergeant some time ago spoke about those small cases. Even in those little situations, Tim, I believe that sometimes some lawyers give their clients advice that could put them in more trouble. Okay, and I remember putting a posting like that on Facebook, okay, of a situation that I went through.
You got bashed?
I didn't get bashed. I actually got support from the public on that because some people went through some issues, you know. So sometimes we have these situations where we have civil offenses being committed where the police has no power, but lawyers, for whatever reason, some lawyers, for whatever reason, would give their client certain advice that would cause them now to commit a criminal offense, and now the police will have to step in. But lawyers have their job color, and we just have to do our job as police officers to the letter of the law.
All right, we have a WhatsApp message. Somebody says, first of all, the politics need to come out of the police force. The judicial system and politicians are protecting their criminal interests. The police need to gain the respect, so maybe visiting the preschools and then work your way up, because it's easier to get the kids than the youth right now. The youth are being influenced by gangs, see the police as the enemy, and police force need to get rid of the corrupt cops who are on the criminals' payroll and politicians. And it's a small country. We know who those individuals are, meaning the criminals, politicians, and lawyers. How we expect crime to be reduced? Yes, crime happens all over the world and can be stopped, but you would be surprised who are facilitating crime and making money off it. If crime is stopped, few will be out of business and some politicians will lose their popularity. Another person says the cadet officers are willing to assist as special police constables, but no one is reaching out to them. Is that true?
I got a similar text.
We've read that, but we're not in a position to say if nobody's reaching out to them. Now definitely we have to be on a higher level. But when it comes to crime, we need all hands on deck, and any assistance that we can have, we should welcome it as an organization.
All right, I think that will do it in terms of our calls and your messages in the chat room. Let's go with the final comments, and this time we will start with you, Zachary Hippolyte.
I would like to thank you, team, first of all, the invite, and also the police commissioner for giving me the approval to be here. I just want individuals to know that the police, I know you've heard it before, we're trying our best with what we have. We continue to be dynamic, we continue to be forceful as long as the law permits us. And what else can I say? I need you to understand also, Tim, because I need to address this, that individuals still don't know, some individuals don't know that you can give information to the police in an anonymous nature. So the crime hotline is 452-7463. I repeat, 452-7463. You could call that number. Don't identify yourself, give your information. You can even WhatsApp that number, and we hopefully will be in a position to act on any information that you give us. So, as you know, I have that talk show on behalf of the organization on Tuesdays. Tune in, thank you, team, and we will continue to do what we can to maintain law and order.
All right, so that crime hotline again, the number is 452-7463, 7463. Sergeant Matthew.
Yeah, Tim, thanks again for this opportunity in being here. I just want to say thank you to the Commissioner of Police and the press office for, as Zach said, for giving us the approval to be on your show. I believe this show was well presented. I just want to, give a special good evening to my colleagues at the CID in Grosley and by extension the Grosley Police Station, all the members of staff who work hard daily. All right, to work hard daily. To my former colleagues at the CID and Major Crime in Castries, these individuals, they work tirelessly. To every member of the police force. So what I want to say to the citizenry is that we need your help. Fighting crime is everybody's business. We need your help. From the simple suspicious person you see in your community to the person you see carrying a weapon on the street. We need your help. We cannot recover some of those weapons if we do not get your assistance or your support. All right. And I said again, gun violence is the issue. Crime is the issue in our country. The powers that be, let's invest more money into crime fighting. Let's invest more money into policing. Let's invest more money into police training. All right. Let's invest more money into the police's wellness and health. All right, because policing is very stressful. All right.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for being my guest on this evening's NewsMaker Live. And to you, as always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for contributing. If it's Wednesday, it's NewsMaker Live. Time now for the clip that peaked. Once again, as a broadcast, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for contributing. Please join me tomorrow afternoon, 12:30 on Power 97.9, as well as the Newspin Facebook page. That is for Newspin. Good night, and see you next time.
Philip here. I would like to be judged as being the Prime Minister, not being judged as being part of a government.
Came into government that we had a manifesto and a vision and mission that had been approved by my party, by the highest body.
We have to take pride on how we've handled
The illegal entry of persons coming in from Martinique, and Martinique remains an area of high risk for us
You
because
see all the nice things, all the appealing things, all the emotional things to touch people's heart because you want them to support you and follow you, you inspire them, you give them hope, and they follow you.
But what about the culture of people getting to office and not being effective in terms
Portfolio.
No, but caller, hold on.
Who handled his portfolio?
Hold on. Let's do it this Wednesday, because if it's Wednesday, it's NewsMaker Live.